Welcome to our October episode of Silver Linings Talk Show. We are so thrilled to have with us Jen Jones. She is a realtor. She is also an author, and we are thrilled to have her here with us to talk more about what she wrote about.
Yes.
Welcome to our show, Jen.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here and share a little bit about the book and myself. Being a realtor for now over 20 years, it's been a journey, to say the least, as an entrepreneur. But being an introverted entrepreneur has added layers to our complicated, building businesses as an introvert. And so I'm a wife, I'm a mom of three, 2 older kids, 1 younger, and being a business owner has given me the flexibility to live the life that I want to live, and excited to chat about the Intropreneur.
Excellent. So I love this conversation today because there are so many people who would say that they are an introvert and may find it difficult to see how they could also be an entrepreneur. And that's, a wonderful focus about today, which I love the concept of what you have created. But can we start with what would be kind of the typical definition of an introvert? How would you describe an introvert?
Yes, and so, you could Google and get many different variations, but for this book in particular, and when I discuss Intropreneur, and when I talk about myself, it really is about being an introvert is getting your energy from being alone or smaller groups, and an extrovert is getting your energy from being with a lot of other people. And so just bringing it down to the baseline of where introvert and extrovert live, it is a scale, but just to get people to think about, how do I get my energy? And is this book for me? Although I have had many extroverts read the book and find it very helpful and interesting.
Great.
Awesome.
We'll talk more about that.
Yeah.
So,
Diane, did you want to handle the next question? Because I
Okay,
think this
yes.
is a pivotal one.
yes.
Okay, so Jen, what influenced you to create the concept of the Intropreneurs? Am I pronouncing it correctly? Intropreneur?
Absolutely. Yep. So the concept came to be when I was out there doing a lot of networking, and I had people come up to me saying, I can't believe it. You're everywhere. All the networking events, I see you. How do you do it? How do you have the energy to do it? I just wanted to go home and eat dinner and not leave the house again. And so as all of this sort of came to be, it was going into, COVID time. It was about March 2020. And it was, how could I give back to networking, because we were doing so much networking. How can we give back? And as an intrapreneur, it was more about how can we use our strengths to still get in front of people, to continue to build our business in such an uncertain time. And it really came to be by doing, we did a video series, we did workshops, all on Zoom, of course, workshops, speaking opportunities, just to really pull together all these intricacies of being an introvert. And someone suggested, you should put everything in a book. And I was like, that's a great idea. So
I love that you kind of leading into where I was going to go next. You're basically, telling people that they don't need to be restricted by the energy that suits them.
Yes.
Right? So you're helping others with the tools in your book, or like you said, you were doing Zoom kind of courses to kind of get through to people. So how did you begin to help these specific entrepreneurs who were introverts? Were they coming to you saying, I can't do it? Were they hiding in the corner
yeah, so it was more about they were coming up to me because they kept seeing me everywhere. So they almost pulled me aside and asked me about it, and it really brought to light that there's a lot more people out there networking who really don't want to be networking.
And because of their introvert nature, they needed your guidance, which is why you came up with the book.
Yeah,
I'd love
can
to
we talk about your book? And I think you had sent us a photo because we want people at home to be able to see what the cover looks like. It's beautiful. Can you touch base just a little bit about the book?
Yeah, so the book itself, I mean, I love that cover was like in a dream. And there's a couple other books that have similar covers because it's beautiful. And it just reminds me of the fact that, you know, we can do hard things being an introvert. And I don't mean, you know, there's a little bit of pushing through to like do things, but then there's, you know, I'm not going to do that, but I'll do this. So there's some negotiating with yourself to build the skills. And I think Diane had pointed this out during our pre-meeting, is that, you know, I think there's certain things that we look at as introverts and say, I can do this, but I'm not going to do this because it just takes too much energy. And I think being able to look at the book, and the book is sectioned out into a few things. It talks about our goals and all the different areas of our life. It moves us through, you know, our energy and how do we really take our energy and use it to our benefit, and how do we protect our energy. And then it goes into how do you build your business as an introvert, because all introverts are also different in how they want to build their business. Some people want to, like for myself, I love one-on-one or small groups. It's my favorite. Yeah.
I'm raising my hand over here going, that's me. Like, I love the energy of a nice small group. And when I get into a larger space, I think sometimes I feel lost.
Yeah.
Right? So you kind of break a lot of that down into maybe introverted energy and extroverted energy, right? Like an extrovert might not have a problem walking into a large space. They're probably like,
They might
hello,
feel
here I
that.
am.
They do. They do. And it's amazing to watch. I think we all have so many gifts, but it's amazing to watch certain people in certain arenas. And it's nice. Those experts walk in and they are like, most of the people that I know who walk into networking who are extroverts are very charismatic. And they you know, whether you're an introvert, you're naturally guided to like go and hang out with that person. But if there's too many people, it becomes a little bit harder to do.
But
to do
can
that.
you be charismatic and introverted?
Yes.
I needed to hear that.
Yes.
Right? I needed to hear that.
And also, I think I love this topic also because so many people find themselves in an extroverted industry.
Yes.
Whether it's corporate, whether it is entrepreneurial. And it's about how do we successfully manage and be able to be a part of and thrive within a more extroverted environment.
Yeah.
Can we talk a little bit about that? Like, how does someone manage when they are consistently in an extroverted environment?
Yes. Well, it all goes back to having a plan, in my opinion. And in the book, I don't know where it is, it's in there somewhere, but it's called the exit strategy. So we know as entrepreneurs, and even as career women, male or female, it's walking in, it's knowing what you're up against. But I have an exit strategy. So if I walk in and I'm like, okay, if I'm done with this, I'm gonna like go check out the bathroom. I might go outside. And so using some of that to kind of alleviate how do you actually go in and network with other people.
Right, because in some of those environments, there's a rigidity and a structure that doesn't often allow for you to be yourself, right?
And when we talked before, I think this piece is so important, is how very often it's the more charismatic, the louder person, the person who has no problem being, you know, outspoken, is the one that people might be listening to and paying attention to, and then the introvert could be sitting there quietly, thinking, observing, and having some great ideas that may not be heard.
Right, because of the structure, or if the environment is, you know, or the structure of the meeting or the event is such that
Yeah.
it's rigid or structured so that it's not free for
Right.
certain people to be able to speak up, then you're like, what as an kind of like you said, as an introvert, maybe you're stepping aside, you're not feeling welcome, etc. So, in your opinion, what are you doing?
Right. What are you doing to help with that?
Yeah, because like I think we may find that these situations happen less and less, or maybe we just don't put ourselves into those situations. But is there a way to turn the tide?
And can I also add, what could people leading those meetings or groups do to help welcome or support the introvert to feel that they have a space and a voice at the table?
Yeah. I think that's easier in a place where there's structure. So a structured meeting, I think it's easier for everyone to have their voice heard. Where when we talk about sort of unstructured, more free-flowing, I think that it gets a little bit harder for leadership, we'll call it, to engage everybody. But we'll step back for a minute, and I think just for an introvert, being able to walk in the door and say, like, I'm just gonna have a conversation with one person. And you don't have to go and get everyone's business card. You don't have to meet everybody. It's going in there with a goal of just having a conversation with one person. And that one person could make all the difference. But just kind of stepping back, going through and getting yourself ready energy-wise, mentally, to walk through the door of especially a larger networking setting. I think that that's really important. And then once you're in there, try to arrive early, because the people who are setting up are the people who are running the meeting. You actually get a chance to, have a conversation with them also, I think is really important. And as an introvert, being part of, coordinating and leadership of these networking groups is probably vital to exceeding your expectations of the networking group.
I actually love that tip, and I think I've always tended to arrive early, more so because that's just who I am. But it makes me giggle because I don't think I did it purposely. Because as more people arrive, I kind of want to be settled into my space, because it gets uncomfortable after a while.
And certainly one piece too is how, obviously this is different for each person, but wondering, like, does anxiety start to play a part? Because there's maybe these certain expectations or these fears or concerns or this inner dialogue that's happening that, wow, I don't feel as confident. Or so I'm, just curious about how often does that happen, and just the thoughts of how someone could kind of help themselves through that moment from your thoughts on it.
Yeah, and I love that question, and it was something that brought me thought during our pre-meeting. I'll bring it up again because I think that, we're all learning, we're all, discovering more about ourselves, and I never really pinned getting to a networking event and thinking I'm not going to walk in the door, I'm leaving, as anxiety. But, or throughout the day, it's I have to show up to this, what am I going to do? And that sort of worry and anxiousness that comes along with putting yourself out there. I think a lot of people can.
And I think a lot of it comes from, just like you said, set a goal of one person. That's awesome. But if you're not doing that, your mind's swirling, going, what am I getting out of this meeting? Why do I have to go? You're fueling that anxiety with more anxiety because your angst is, am I going to enjoy myself? And when you do that, sometimes you end up leaving the meeting going, what just happened?
Right.
If you're not taking those little tidbits and taking little bites throughout the night, like you're suggesting.
Absolutely. And just to bring it back, it's looking at, what are your goals? Why are you, because sometimes we get caught up in, I'm supposed to be networking. I'm supposed to be networking. So then you're there, but you're not getting out of it what you I don't want to say should be, but what you set up yourself up for goal-wise.
Right.
And so thinking back to why am I doing, and maybe you go through, because there was a time where I did network an awful lot and decided I think it's time for some evaluation as to what groups am I going to continue to belong to and what groups am I going to let go.
Always, always. And where am I most comfortable and who are the right people for me to be talking to? Like you said, setting goals. But
Meeting new people.
Yeah.
So I want to put it out there for those introverts, because we do get comfortable. We do like our networking groups. And then there's an opportunity to expand, and you can do that slowly as you set your goals and you figure out, why am I here? Why am I trying something new? And how can I get in a place where maybe it's meeting the coordinator first, maybe it's having a coffee with them, you know, still getting there early if that doesn't happen. It's really setting yourself up for your energy too, using the tools to ground yourself and be in a place, because at the end of the day, a lot of us are tired. And so, you know, what can you do for 15, 20 minutes before you walk in that door that you are able to get some energy back to get you through the meeting?
I have some thoughts on that. I think first off, make sure you don't sit with all the people you know, because I see that happen all the time.
I do that
Don't
sometimes.
do that. Don't do that. It's not a good idea. It may be your comfort level, but you're not meeting anybody new.
Right.
But I think Diane has some thoughts around, I know I feel most comfortable if I feel confident in what I'm wearing.
Yes.
Diane, you need to fill us in on some of this.
I love this, yes.
Well, I was just curious, because I'm a wardrobe stylist and I get all kinds of different people in my dressing room, and I always start the conversation by telling them, this may not be your style, this may not be you, but let's just try it on and just see how you feel in it.
Yeah.
And I just wondered, Jen, can you give me some guidance too? Have you noticed introverts dress differently than extroverts? Is there anything to that?
Yeah, so that's such a great, I'm looking at everyone and they all have necklaces on here today, which is great to see. And I was like, oh, I forgot. I remembered my earrings, guys. I remembered my earrings. But I think about that and I think about jewelry. So maybe not necessarily wardrobe, although apparently black and white is my color today. But I think about jewelry. And I do see a lot of introverts that, don't think about, like myself, I have to think about, okay, what can I put in my ears that makes sense? What can I wear for a necklace just to, I guess, spice it up a little bit? And for me, spicing it up is jewelry. Other people that I've noticed, they're not as flashy, right? Especially with colors, as an introvert, where extroverts sort of, they can come in with this fantastic outfit on that looks amazing. And I would probably never wear it, but I think it looks amazing on them because it exudes confidence that they can pull off, bright pink or leopard print, one-piece outfit. So I think that's what I've seen. I haven't paid as much attention to it, but jewelry has been one of those things that I have to think about for even myself.
So accessories, even hats. When I see somebody walk in the room with their outfit and this big hat, they walk into the room, right? So they're probably not an introvert.
Right.
I would like to hear just a little bit more from you, Diane, because I, myself as an introvert, I sometimes will change. I don't know how many times before I leave the house because I have to feel good in what I'm wearing. And I might ask my husband, I don't know how many times, does this look good? And he's like, yes, it looks good. And I'm like, but it doesn't feel right to me. So it's this inner person saying, how is that going to look to others? Or I don't know if it's like I'm worried how it's going to look to others or whatever. So I want to make sure that I'm kind of neutral in my dress, or does that make sense? I know that Jen's nodding her head, but you just mentioned stepping out of your comfort zone and trying on new styles. I think also too, as we age and become more comfortable being who we are, and I think that's a good question for you too. Do you find that women change their styles and feel more comfortable doing so and just being comfortable in who they are?
Oh, you're talking to me? Yes.
Yeah.
Well, for example, I had a pediatrician come in last week and for a styling wardrobe refresh appointment, and I could tell how she was dressed just walking in. Instinctively, I felt like she was an introvert. Then she explained to me that she was, and I mean, I did get her to put a few things on just so they were out of the box, and she actually felt comfortable with a few things. A splash of color, you know, these were not big prints or anything. They were just a few items that could spice up, as you were saying, Jen, spice up the outfit. But that's why I was asking the question, because that's what I've noticed is I just go with it, and then I keep letting them try things on just to see if it feels like them or not. A lot of times they'll just leave it. They'll say, no, it's not me. I like it, but it's not me.
When maybe
Or they buy it and then it sits in their closet.
Right.
Well, and I
think
I
that
don't
there's
want that at all.
Right. So that's
So-
you as a stylist saying, if you're not going to wear it,
Yep.
don't
Don't buy
buy it. But you probably can tell that person, right? They're not doing the and the extrovert is like, oh yeah, right.
Bring me more. Bring me more.
Right,
What do you have
right,
in the orange?
Right. Absolutely.
So as we do kind of get used to the who we are's, do you find it gets easier?
I know. Well, I only can really, speak from my own experience, and it sounds like I think just over time you do get more confident in yourself overall, unless you have a big, life event that happens that really shifts you. I'm 46, and I can just tell over the last 10 years I'm more confident in myself overall. But I think that it's experience.
Yeah.
It's having the experience of life that you're able to say, you know what, like I feel good in this. I almost wore a dress today, and I was like, nah, just wear pants and a shirt. So it's just funny.
Right.
Well, you're using what you know, and you're using what the tools. So what are some skills and tools that we can share with our audience?
Yes. So one of the biggest tools is the energy toolkit, and it's something that we do, and we call it self-care. But I take it a little bit further in that, yes, we want to take care of ourselves. We want to continue to build our energy when we're feeling depleted. But we also want to pay attention, because sometimes we go through life, we go through days, and we're just not paying enough attention. Never mind breathing, right? The real breathing, not the shallow breathing, that we're not even breathing. So looking at the energy toolkit, it's what are you doing during the day? What times of day are harder for you to do things that take more energy? So it's really looking at things you do, what kind of energy you need to accomplish those things, because we all have goals that we want to accomplish each day and each week. And it's how do we, when we do feel depleted, how do we get back that energy? Talking about walking in nature, going outside in this. I love the sun. I'm sun powered. It's like my favorite thing. I do wear a lot of sunblock, which is why I still only have a little tan, but it's fine. But it's looking at, and I have a list of things that you can do. It's, it's not just about getting your nails done and getting massages, although I love getting massages.
I think we have something to show on this
One
life
of your
cycle.
tools.
Yeah.
You sent a photo.
There we go.
There we go. Yeah, so taking a look at every piece of our life, it really brings us back to what are we doing every day? And when we're sitting there and we're looking at, how am I gonna get out the door to get in front of people to build my business, or even if you're just in a career that requires you to interact with a lot of other people, it's what are my goals and why am I here? And I think that's really important. Even when we look at our energy, it's looking at our energy, looking at our goals. Those are really important, because that's what sort of catapults us into what we want to do next.
Yep.
For sure. For sure.
Great.
I agree.
Did you have one more skill?
I have lots of skills.
Is all this in your book?
It is.
Awesome.
Yes.
So somebody just needs to grab your book. And so how does someone implement it? any like thought of a way that someone could take one of your skills, and any thought like a skill that you know, just randomly think about, and what could be a way that they could implement it?
So I think one of the skills that over time that I have developed is really connecting with people. And I think being able to practice is part of this. It's putting yourself out there and practicing a skill. That's how we master things, is we go out there and we use it. And so being able to connect with people is, you know, not just about what your business is, but who are you as a person, and how can you connect with someone on a personal level, asking them, you know, what do you do? What's your passion? Do you have any hobbies? What are you reading? Things like that to stoke conversation that's not just about what I'll call the business or career world. It's at the core of a person, and not as deep as maybe, you know, you want to ask. You know, a lot of introverts don't want to get into that deep conversation, but really it's looking at the person without, you know, trying to dig a hole, but actually get into who the person really is.
I love that.
Great.
I love that. Yeah, I think we had some.
Diane, you have our final question, which is such a great thing to wrap up the show with today.
Yes, I'm curious about the gifts that the introvert.
Yes, perfect.
Yes.
Thank you, Diane, for asking. Almost forgot that, because it doesn't come up as like skills as much as they're your innate gifts as a person. And yes, they can evolve over time as you become more experienced and master things. But some of the things that I like to highlight is, you know, think before you speak. And although sometimes that feels like a hindrance, it really is giving you the opportunity to actually listen to the person and not really overpower the conversation with just whatever comes to mind. Although I have to admit, sometimes when I'm really nervous, I can word vomit. So instead of listening, I'm word vomiting. And so I just try to remind myself to like breathe a little bit, listen to what people are saying, and be able to then respond to them.
Well, it
And
looks like a
just-
very
yeah.
positive list, because I think
know. I was just
sometimes
gonna
people
comment
think
that too.
introvert is
Shy.
shy. You know, they don't have a lot to offer, but that there's a lot of good things to offer on that
love
list
that.
for
Yes.
sure.
I love
it.
Yes. So I think that this was just such an important conversation to have, because there's so many introverts everywhere. And thank you so much for, you know, being with us today, talking about your book, Intropreneur. And we are thrilled to, you know, have you share some of your wisdom and guidance. And I encourage anyone who, you know, is an introvert and is like, I really need to start looking at how to branch out, how to network, how to feel more comfortable, is to get your book.
And it's okay. It's okay to be an introvert or an intrapreneur.
And that it's okay, yes.
Because you can succeed
And there's
by
lots of
using your
gifts.
tools.
And
Yes.
there's lots of gifts.
I love that. We
Awesome.
learned a lot
Thank
today.
you so much.
Yeah,
I
thank
appreciate it,
you.
ladies. I do.
Thank you.